Okay, so hello, I'm Christopher Marks. I'm the People's Presidential Candidate for the 2020 election cycle. I'm of the indigenous Miami people, naturally from the Indiana Territorial District. I'd like to start out with saying we have a sickness in this nation. It's affecting our families. Most importantly, it's affecting our children and our future generations. The group of people that are inflicting this illness upon our families and causing this trauma claims to have immunity. They claim to have immunity for the crimes they are committing against the people. This group is our public servants. We pay their bills, we pay their wages, we pay them in tax dollars. The emphasis needs to be placed upon our politicians and especially our judiciary. Our judiciary is meant to ensure the integrity of the courts is maintained, and they fail us every time. What I'm talking about is accountability. We don't have accountability in this nation anymore. Our government investigates themselves, covers up their corrupt actions, and nothing is done. They kidnap our children through child welfare services. Nancy Schaefer warned us as a nation against this, and we remain silent. Some of us stood up. Some of us spread the word that Nancy Schaefer was sharing, that our state's child welfare services are, in fact, a corrupt business practice. They are human trafficking our children, and they're doing so through fraud. A vast number of the cases all across this nation are actually fraud upon the court. This is a felony that the state is committing against the people. They're using our children to commit this affront upon our constitutional principles in this nation. We need to make a stand, ladies and gentlemen. We need to make a decision that we will no longer tolerate the human trafficking of our children. We will no longer continue to allow the emotional abuse that our families, our parents, our children, and our elderly are being subjected to by the state's family court system, and most importantly, the child welfare system. We need to, I am publicly calling to action every individual across this nation to unify together and form a class action lawsuit against the national government. The people back there in that building are paying your Social Security monies, your trust fund monies to these states through mismanagement to fund the human trafficking of our family members. We can't stand for it any longer. It's time for things to change. It's time for things across this nation to be returned to our founding principles, our constitutional values. And we cannot allow for a president like Donald Trump to continue to sit in office and talk about taking away the guns and we'll do with due process later. That is an affront upon our constitutional values on 2 counts in a single statement, and I will not stand for it. These principles were put in place for a specific purpose. Our Second Amendment rights, they're there to protect us against the government that human traffics our children.
Yeah. Absolutely.
These politicians in the media have unified against the public to attack those rights because they're afraid of the unity of the people, and I'm not calling for violence. I'm calling for civil discourse. I'm calling for civil action, and I want our state governments and our national government financially sanctioned into impotence and get them back in their limited privilege to govern. They have exclusive limited privilege to govern over those who are involved in the Commerce Clause and those who have committed a crime as defined by corpus delicti in the family court system and the social welfare system. When they're not actually prosecuting parents for their alleged crimes against the children, but they'll take you into court and they'll kidnap your children, they'll human traffic your children, and I can actually tell you this: they do it by working with the service providers, the social workers, the judiciary, and the attorneys that act in this business practice. It's corrupt. In Indiana, where I came from, where my child was kidnapped by the state social welfare system underneath Mike Pence's administration, and Mike Pence said that he looked into it. It was done through fraud. As the non-offending parent, they said that I committed child neglect. I wasn't aware of what the mother had done. Matter of fact, I had suspicions that my child was being abused. I took it into the family court system, and the only thing that happened to me is that I was financially sanctioned into poverty. A year later, I got drug into the child welfare services court system. I lost my job fighting against the state's corruption because they were trying to terminate my parenting rights, and they were trying to terminate the offending parents' parenting rights, so that they could human traffic my American Indian child for $40,000, because that, ladies and gentlemen, at least in Indiana, that's what they value your children at. Your children and you are a commodity in this nation. What happened to a government by the people and for the people? What happened to a constitutional government that has the limited privilege to govern? Where did this nation go wrong? More importantly, where's the responsibility of the constituency? Where's our responsibility to correct the malpractice of this nation? Where's the responsibility that we have, that we hold? Where's our patriotic duty to correct this failing, corrupt government? Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I'm running for president in 2020. I'm running for president to return the federal oversight that we pay federal taxes for. Our federal government doesn't do an investigation over what is occurring at the state level, because the federal government is actually spending your Social Security monies to incentivize these corrupt practices. Underneath the Mark's 2020 administration, never again. I will personally go and drag every one of those bathrobe-wearing Bar Association member judges from their bench into the streets for committing this blatant tyranny in this nation.
That's what they deserve.
Nobody will have the gumption to actually stand up, make these claims, and follow through. I do. Because I don't know about you, but I'm fed up with it.
Yeah.
I will not tolerate it. And in a nation where we hold patriotic duty above all other principles, it is a patriotic duty we all have to seek positions in office. Not career politicians. We need to get them all out of office. We need common people We need a nation that holds the people's rights and interests above state and corporate privilege and interest. We need a nation of constitutional values. We need a nation of principle. Because whether or not you realize it, you are affected. Your Social Security money your Social Security trust funds are fiscally insolvent because of what those people in that building back there do.
Amen.
They are doing it to every single one of you across this nation.
Yeah.
So the elderly, the disabled, and the disenfranchised, your career politicians are stealing from you. And they're stealing from you for the most grotesque, insane purposes that there can be imagined. And that is the human trafficking of the common individual of the people. We can't have it anymore. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask you all for your support in ensuring the success of a Marks 2020 campaign, because family is at the fundamental root of everything that I do. Restoring and protecting and securing the integrity of our family is the most important thing. Because it doesn't matter whether or not we're talking about school shootings. It doesn't matter if we're talking about gun control. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about the unconstitutional fraud of the government. It all boils down to accountability. That accountability needs to be shucked onto the hands of our politicians. It's their duty as public servants to serve and secure this nation's constituency. They have failed us. And they have failed us for the last time. Thank you very much for your time.